Alright guys, for the first round, my opponent's first Pokemon is going to be an Obstagoon. Obstagoon being a dark and normal type Pokemon, that is going to be a very bad start for us, especially because Jirachi being a steel and psychic type Pokemon, dark types will be doing super effective damage against psychic type Pokemon. So my opponent does make a swap out into a Galarian Slowbro to actually counter my Kingdra. Kingdra being a dragon and water type Pokemon, we are going to be taking neutral hits for my opponent's poison type fast move. I haven't really seen Galarian Slowbro being used in the Great League right now, so I don't really know what his movesets are going to be, but I am able to get my opponent's final shield right there. Galarian Slowbro being a poison and psychic type Pokemon, that is going to be a perfect time for my Jirachi to come in, due to psychic types being super effective against poison types but not very effective against psychic types. So that will be causing neutral damage to happen. My opponent does throw in a focus blast that I do decide to throw in my first shield for. I do know that Doom Desire is going to be doing so much damage or on that Obstagoon right there, but my opponent does make a swap out into an Alolan Marowak. Alolan Marowak being a fire and ghost type Pokemon, our fire type moves are going to be doing non effective damage against each other due to fire types being non effective against fire types, but I am able to charge up to that Drillbur that is going to be doing super effective damage against my opponents, and it may do enough damage for my own Rapidash to actually go for the hard farm down that will give my own Rapidash a huge advantage. My opponent does get to another Bone Club that is going to also be doing super effective damage due to ground types being super effective against fire types. So since both of us do have zero shields, I do have to take the hit there. That did do way more than half health, and from here I do decide to throw in the Flame Charge instead of actually throwing in the Drill Gun, because Flame Charge not only is a very strong charge type move or charge type fire type move, but it is also going to give my own Rapidash an attack buff, and it will do enough damage to actually faint my opponent's Obstagoon right there. A Alolan Marowak is going to be coming out. My Doom Desire is charged up. Although it is going to be doing non-effective damage, since my opponent is actually 1 HP, it is going to be doing enough damage to actually faint my opponents, allowing us to win the first round. Good game to my opponent. For the second round, my opponent's first Pokemon is going to be Venusaur. Venusaur being a grass and poison type Pokemon, our psychic type moves we're going to be doing super effective damage to the psychic types being super effective against poison types. My opponent does make a swap out into a Bastiodon, and Bastiodon being a rock and steel type Pokemon, this Doom Desire is going to be doing neutral damage due to rock types being super effective against, or due to steel types being super effective against rock types but not very effective against steel types. That will be causing neutral damage to occur. I do decide to make a swap out into my Kingdra. Kingdra having access to Dragon Breath, it is going to be resisted due to dragon types being not very effective against steel types, but my Octazooka is going to be doing super effective damage due to water types being super effective against rock types. So we are able to get a very nice hit there, doing enough super effective damage to actually allow my own Kingdra to actually go for the farm down. My opponent does get to a charge move right here, but I do decide not to throw in his shield since he did already get the attack debuff that was going to give my Kingdra a huge advantage, so we didn't actually have to throw in his shield there. The Venusaur is going to be coming out, and with 1 HP we are able to get to another Octazooka. If this was actually something like a Blizzard or an Outrage, it definitely would have done enough damage to actually faint my opponent's Venusaur, but because it is only an Octazooka, my opponent does decide to throw in a shield there, and I do decide to make that swap on to my Jirachi. Even better, my opponent's second Pokemon is going to be an Azumarill. So because of this, it is going to be way better since I do know that my opponent is on the swap cooldown, and because Doom Desire and my Psychic is going to be doing good enough neutral damage against my opponent's Azumarill. I do know that Hydro Pump is going to be the only neutral damage move that my opponent's Azumarill is going to be able to throw. Those Ice Beams and those Play Roughs are going to be resisted. We are able to get my opponent's final shield there. I do know that one more Doom Desire will definitely be able to faint my opponent's Azumarill. I do decide to throw in my final shield here as well. My opponent does get to a Hydro Pump, which is definitely okay since of course we didn't take any damage one more hit or one more psychic until my Doom Desire is actually charged up, I don't actually have to worry about that Venusaur in the back, since both my Jirachi and my Rapidash is going to be resisting all of my opponent's grass type moves, and both of my Pokemon are going to be doing super effective damage with all of their charge moves. Because of that, it did allow us to win the second round. Good game to my opponent. For the third round, my opponent's first Pokemon is going to be a Golbat. Golbat being a poison and flying type Pokemon, this is going to be a very good start. I do know that my opponent's Golbat does have access to Shadow Ball, so I do decide to throw my first Shield Bait, but he did get a very nice Shield Bait and he did throw in the Poison thing. Instead, we are going to be resisting it due to Poison types being not very effective against Steel types. I do know that my Doom Desire is going to be doing so much damage, but my opponent does make a swap out into a Drapion. Drapion being a poison and dark type move or dark type Pokemon, I do decide to make a swap out into my safe swap, which is going to be that Kingdra. Kingdra being a dragon and water type Pokemon, we are going to be resisting this Ice Crunch, which is going to be doing a good amount of neutral damage once again. My opponent's charge move is going to be Crunch, so that is giving us the advantage off the bat, since I do know what his charge move is. He may actually have access to double charge moves, but I have seen Drapion only go for Crunch or Aqua Tail in the Great League, so I don't actually have to worry about that. My Octazooka did get my opponent's final shield there. If my Kingdra is going to be going down right here, it still is going to be okay, because I do know that he does have that Golbat in the back, and both my Rapidash and Jirachi will be performing very well against him. But instead of my opponent actually throwing in the Crunch, I am guessing that he didn't actually have enough energy to charge up to that, so he did throw in the Aqua Tail instead, which are going to be double resisting, and because of that, we are able to charge up to another Octazooka with no problem. That Octazooka did give my opponent an attack debuff, and because of that, my Kingdra was also able to take out 2 Pokemon. My opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Hypno, and Hypno being a Psychic type Pokemon. Both of our Psychic type moves from my Jirachi are going to be resisted, but Jirachi being a Steel and Psychic type Pokemon, we are going to be double resisting those Psychic type moves, and my Doom Desire is also going to be doing a good amount of neutral damage. I do know that my Jirachi will most likely be able to go up against this Hypno, allowing us to win the third round. Good game to my opponent. Alright guys, for the 5th round, my opponent's first Pokemon is going to be an Umbreon. So this is going to be a very, very bad start off the bat, because Umbreon being a dark type Pokemon, of course it is going to be doing super effective damage against my Jirachi due to dark types being super effective against psychic types. So I do decide to make a swap out into my own Kingdra just to actually counter that. Kingdra having access to that Octazooka, once again there is going to be a very big chance that my opponent does get that attack debuff. We are able to get the attack debuff on my opponent's Superior right here, and Superior being a grass type Pokemon, the Octazooka was actually resisted, and my Dragon Breath is also going to be doing a good amount of neutral damage against my opponent. That Frenzy Plant, as you guys saw, did take so much damage, so much health off of my own Kingdra right there. And since I do know that my opponent does have the Umbreon in the back, I do decide to make a swap out into my Rapidash and get ahead on energy there, because that Flame Charge is going to be doing so much damage, especially since it does give my own Rapidash an attack buff once again. So my opponent's second Pokemon is going to be that Umbreon. I am glad that he did make a swap out into this Umbreon, since I do know that my Jirachi will not have to worry about anything, and if he does, it will most likely just give us the advantage, since it will most likely make my own Jirachi actually go for the farm down. But my opponent does make a swap out into a Skarmory. We are able to get my opponent shielded here with this Flame Charge, and it's going to be very good. Both of us are down by 1 shield. I do know that my Confusion and my Doom Desire for my Jirachi is going to be resisted due to Psychic types and Steel types being not very effective against Steel types, and because of that, we are still going to be doing a good amount of damage, but not enough damage as I actually thought that I would be doing. But my Doom Desire is once again charged up. We are able to get to the Excellent. Since it is going to be resisted, it didn't do that much damage, but my Confusion and my Doom Desire is still doing a good amount of damage. We are still ahead on damage from my opponent's Skarmory right here. Skarmory being a Steel and Flying type Pokemon, we are going to be resisting both his Steel and Flying type moves, of course, since Jirachi is as well a Steel type Pokemon. My opponent does get to another charge move right here. I do expect it to be a Brave Bird, since he did take very long to actually charge it up, and because of that, as I was correct, that Jirachi is going to be going down pretty quickly right there, since Brave Bird being a flying type charge move, and of course Jirachi being pretty low, he does get an instant faint on that Skarmory. I don't actually have to worry about him too much, since my own Rapidash is going to be doing super effective damage against that Skarmory. That Umbreon and my Rapidash is going to be going one-on-one against each other. I do know that my Rapidash will most likely be able to come out on top, since these flame charges are going to be carrying us a bunch, since of course it does enhance our damage. Umbreon is pretty tanky as well, also having access to those foul plays and those dark pulses. It is going to be doing a good amount of neutral damage, and especially since it does charge up very fast for him. My opponent does get to another charge move here, which I don't actually have to worry about. I do know that Rapidash is pretty tanky, so that he will be able to actually withstand that. One more HP for my Rapidash before he is actually going to be going down right here. But my opponent's Skarmory is going to be coming out, and of course my Flame Charge is once again charged up, allowing us to get the instant feints with 1 HP left, allowing us to win the 5th and final round, going into our opponent.